Hello everyone, welcome back. So we were reading the lesson Pret in the House, isn't that? It's a lively story, lively and a humorous story written by Ruskin Bond. So in our last session we read how the Pret had come into the house of the author, the narrator rather, and has started troubling everyone in the house. The grandfather, grandmother, his uncle, all were troubled. Initially, who was suspected? Yes, it was the narrator who was suspected because he was the only child in the house, so everybody suspected him. But then gradually they came to know that, they discovered that it was not the narrator who was troubling, who was, playing all these pranks, but there was a Pret in the house, right? So we'll start from page number 30, third last paragraph. So I hope all of you are ready. We did not have to wonder long. There followed a series of disasters. So they did not have to wait for a long time. They did not have to wonder for a long time. Why? Because one after the other, there was a series of disasters. So the Pret started making mischiefs one after the other continuously. Vases fell off tables, pictures fell from walls. So how did the Pret trouble them? The flower vases, they fall off the table, and the pictures which were hung on the wall, they fell off from the walls. Things got worse when Aunt Minnie came to stay. So Aunt Minnie, the narrator's aunt, came to stay with them, and during this point of time, during this period of time, things grew even worse. The Pret seemed to take an immediate dislike to Aunt Minnie. So it seemed that the Pret did not like the narrator's aunt at all. He disliked her. She was a nervous, excitable person, just the right sort of prey for a spiteful ghost. What do you mean by spiteful? Unkind. So what kind of a person was Aunt Minnie? She would, she would panic all the time. She would get nervous very quickly, very easily. Even the pettiest matter would trouble her a lot, and she would panic a lot. So she would become excited all the time, just the right sort of prey, the right sort of victim for an unkind ghost. Somehow her toothpaste got switched with a tube of grandfather's shaving cream. So see the humor here. The narrator says that somehow, due to some reason, what was the reason? I hope you can understand it well. Yeah, it was the Pret. So somehow the toothpaste got exchanged with the grandfather's shaving cream. She appeared in the sitting room foaming at the mouth. So she she used the shaving cream to brush her teeth. So she was sitting in she came to the sitting room, and what was there in her mouth? Yes, the shaving cream, the foam of the shaving cream in her mouth. Uncle Ken shouted that she'd got rabies, and we ran for our lives. So Uncle Ken shouted. When Uncle Ken saw her, he got very nervous and he shouted that she is suffering from rabies. Her mouth is full of foams, and this is a symptom of rabies, right? And it's a very dangerous disease, and they all started for their life. They are all ran away from their life. Ran away from there to save themselves. We'll have to leave this house, declared grandmother. If we stay here much longer, both Ken and Minnie will have nervous breakdown. So grandmother finally decided that they should shift to a new house. They must leave this house. If they continue living in the same house, then it's for sure that Uncle Ken and Aunt Minnie would have a nervous breakdown. I thought Aunt Minnie broke down long ago, I said. So the narrator says that I thought Aunt Minnie had a nervous breakdown long ago. So it's kind of little humor, because she used to panic all the time. None of your cheeks, snapped Aunt Minnie. So Aunt Minnie snapped the narrator by saying that it's none of your business. Anyway, I agree about changing the house, I said breezily. So the narrator also said to change the house. He also agreed to shift to a new house. I can't even do my homework. The ink bottle is always empty. So the narrator adds on to the pain, his agony, that he cannot even do his homework. Why? Because he finds the ink bottle empty all the time. There was ink in the soup last night, complained grandfather. So to this, grandfather added that yes, he found ink in the soup last night. And so, a few days and several disasters later, we began moving to a new house. So, after a lot of mischievous acts by the Pret, and after a few days, they began moving to a new house. They started with the process of shifting to a new house. 2 bullock carts laden with furniture and heavy luggage were sent ahead. So 2 bullock carts which were loaded with all heavy things in the house, like furniture and all heavy luggage, they were sent ahead. The roof of the old car was piled high with bags and kitchen utensils. So what did they keep on the roof of the car? All the kitchen utensils, and there were a number of bags piled up on the roof. Everyone squeezed into the car and grandfather took the driver's seat. So who was to drive the car? The grandfather. So he sat on the driver's seat, and rest of them, they all squeezed into the car. The car was small and the number of people were more. So they squeezed inside the car. We were barely out of the gate when we heard a peculiar sound, as if someone was chuckling and talking to himself on the roof of the car. So hardly had they moved out of the gate, hardly had the car moved out of the gate of the house, what did they hear? They heard somebody chuckling on the roof of the car. What do you mean by chuckling? Laughing quietly and giggling. So they could hear somebody giggling, and from where did this sound come? Yes, it came from the roof of the car. So it was a peculiar sound and everyone was surprised. I mean, nobody could understand from where this chuckling, this giggling sound came. Is the parrot out there on the luggage rack? Asked grandfather. So grandfather asked that is the parrot out from the, out there on the luggage rack? Have you people placed the parrot on the luggage rack? No, he's in his cage on a bullock cart, said grandmother. So grandmother replied that no, the parrot, it's there inside the cage and it had been placed in one of the bullock carts. There's no way that the parrot is there on the roof of the car. Grandfather stopped the car, got down, and took a look at the roof. So people were surprised that from where this sound was coming. So grandfather got down from the car and he checked the roof of the car. Nothing up there, he said, getting in again and started the engine. So he could not see the parrot, neither was anything else on the roof of the car. So again he got into the car and he started the engine. I'm sure I heard the parrot talking. So the grandfather was still very sure, he was confident that he had heard the parrot talking. So he had heard somebody talking, right? Remember, in the beginning of the story we read that the Pret could make himself heard by others, could make himself felt by others, but he was invisible to human eyes. Nobody could see him. So this is the reason he couldn't be seen, but he could be heard by them, right? Grandfather had driven some way up the road when the chuckling started again, followed by a squeaky little voice. So now again they were all in the car and he started driving the car, and once they had covered little way from their house, once they have driven some way up the road, they heard this noise once again. This chuckling sound, this giggling, this soft laughing sound was again heard by them inside the car. And this time it was followed by a squeaky little voice. So a soft kind of a voice. We all heard it. It was the Pret talking to itself. So this time it was heard by everyone in the car. And who was it? Yes, it was the Pret who was there on the roof of the car, and it was the Pret who was making all this sound. He was talking to itself. It was talking to itself. Let's go, let's go. It squeaked gleefully. A new house. I can't wait to see it. What fun we are going to have. So, who was there on the roof of the car? Yes, it was the Pret who was there on the roof of the car, and it was so excited, like, small children when you go to a new place, you are so excited. So similarly, the Pret was also excited, and out of excitement, it was talking to itself. And what was it saying? Let's go, a new house. He couldn't wait for that fun, right? So here we end the story. The writer has beautifully ended the story. So it was a very lively story, and I hope all of you enjoyed it, right? What is the basic theme of this story? Yes, of course, it is preservation of nature. How to conserve the trees, stop cutting down the trees. So the writer Ruskin Bond has very subtly appealed, subtly means silently, appealed for conservation of trees, conservation of nature. He says that the Pret lost its home, and where was it dwelling? Yes, it was dwelling, it was living in that peepal tree. So the tree was cut down, so the poor ghost, the poor Pret lost its home. So with this message, he presented the story in a very humorous and a lively way, and I hope all of you enjoyed reading it. So we'll meet again in the next session with some other topic. So thank you, children.